Been to a Trump rally before?
No, sir.
What are your expectations?
Truth.
Truth. At a Trump rally?
Yeah.
Good luck.
Jordan Klepper did not wait long before turning his satirical fire on Donald Trump after the former president's shocking return to office. Only months into Trump's second term, which he secured by defeating Kamala Harris in a bitterly divisive election, Klepper carved out one of his sharpest critiques yet. Known for his blend of comedic timing and biting social commentary, Klepper went beyond the surface-level gags and staged one of the most scathing dismantlings of Trump's early presidency, a moment that rippled across the political and cultural landscape. His performance didn't just poke fun, it carried a sharp edge, targeting the instability of Trump's governance and the new scandals already consuming the White House. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The timing was almost surreal. Trump's victory over Harris had stunned the political establishment, and his supporters celebrated it as a reaffirmation of their vision for America. Yet, almost immediately, his administration was beset by controversy. Policy missteps, erratic decision-making, and a string of personal scandals cast a shadow over his supposed fresh mandate. Klepper seized on this context, crafting a performance that served as both entertainment and a raw political dissection. The audience could sense he wasn't merely joking, he was diagnosing a presidency already drowning in its own contradictions. Klepper's style has always leaned toward the satirical ambush, placing himself in absurd situations to highlight hypocrisies. But this particular takedown went deeper. Stripping away Trump's carefully crafted post-victory bravado, he spotlighted how the second-term Trump, freed from re-election worries, had grown even more unrestrained, more combative, and more dismissive of norms. What might have seemed like jokes were in fact carefully sharpened arguments. Through parody, he revealed the deep unease that many Americans felt watching Trump wield power with such reckless confidence so early into his return. One of the most explosive aspects of Klepper's dismantling involved his decision to shine a light on rumors of Trump's alleged secret affairs, which once again raised questions about his marriage with Melania. The resurfacing of these whispers, paired with Trump's track record of past controversies, struck a nerve. Klepper handled this not by dwelling on salacious details, but by exploring what such allegations symbolized about Trump's character. He positioned the affairs as an allegory for Trump's habitual betrayals of trust, of institutions, and of his closest relationships. This framing made the scandal about more than infidelity. It became a metaphor for political disloyalty and dishonesty at the highest level. The audience reaction underscored how much Klepper's words resonated. People were not only laughing but also nodding along, recognizing in the humor a mirror of their anxieties. Trump's presidency, in Klepper's telling, was already shaping up to be a replay of the chaos of his first term, but amplified. If the first Trump presidency had been marked by daily drama, the second seemed set to push boundaries even further. The fact that a comedian's observations felt sharper and more honest than many official analyses only deepened the sense of unease. Klepper's dismantling also carried an implicit warning about the broader state of American democracy. By highlighting Trump's rocky first few months, he underscored how the institutional guardrails that had once barely contained him were now even weaker. Courts, agencies, and party leaders seemed more hesitant to challenge him, perhaps exhausted from years of conflict or resigned to his influence. Klepper's satire therefore filled a vacuum, becoming a form of resistance in itself. The laughter carried weight, functioning as both catharsis and critique. A key part of his commentary revolved around Trump's relationship with his base. Klepper dissected how, despite glaring scandals and missteps, Trump maintained almost unwavering loyalty from his supporters. This, Klepper argued, was not merely political devotion, but a cult-like adherence that allowed Trump to operate without accountability. The alleged affairs were brushed aside by loyalists, much like policy failures or inflammatory rhetoric. Through parody, Klepper suggested that the problem was no longer just Trump's behavior, it was the erosion of standards among those who enabled him. Another powerful element in Klepper's takedown was his exploration of the cultural divide. Trump's victory over Harris had once again highlighted the chasm between competing visions of America. On one side was a coalition hoping for progress, representation, and reform. On the other was a movement bound together by grievance, nostalgia, and anger. Klepper painted Trump as the embodiment of this latter vision, a figure who thrived not by solving problems, but by inflaming divisions. By weaving humor with analysis, he illustrated how the country's fractures were not only political but deeply personal, affecting families, friendships, and communities. The satirist also used the alleged affairs as a narrative bridge to talk about honesty in leadership. For Klepper, the issue was not whether the rumors were true, but what they revealed about the lack of transparency. A president already accused of undermining institutions and bending facts to his will could hardly be trusted to be forthright about his personal life. The blurred lines between private indiscretions and public dishonesty became part of a larger tapestry of corruption. Klepper made the point that the personal and political could not be separated when it came to Trump. His treatment of those closest to him mirrored his treatment of the nation. Klepper's approach was especially striking because it fused entertainment with urgency. Unlike traditional commentators who analyzed Trump's policies in dry detail, Klepper reached audiences through satire, creating an emotional connection. This allowed his critique to cut deeper. Viewers felt that his jokes were not abstract. They touched on everyday concerns from healthcare to governance to the dignity of the presidency itself. His dismantling became a shared experience, an event people discussed at dinner tables and online, signaling how comedy can shape public consciousness as effectively as journalism. The political establishment reacted cautiously to Klepper's performance. Some dismissed it as typical late-night lampooning, while others recognized the potency of what he had achieved. Politicians who opposed Trump saw in Klepper's satire a way to keep the spotlight on the administration's failings without descending into endless policy minutiae. Meanwhile, Trump allies criticized the takedown as biased, dismissing the humor as part of a larger media agenda. Yet their outrage only highlighted how deeply Klepper had struck a nerve. Importantly, Klepper's critique spoke to the fragility of American norms. Trump's chaotic early months underscored how quickly institutions could bend under pressure, and how repetition of scandal could normalize what once seemed unthinkable. By ridiculing the absurdity of it all, Klepper forced audiences to confront how much they had begun to tolerate. His performance reminded people that outrage fatigue was dangerous, and that laughter should not be mistaken for resignation. It was instead a spark to keep questioning, to resist complacency. Klepper's commentary on Trump's relationship with Melania further amplified the symbolic nature of his satire. The image of a first lady caught in the storm of allegations became a metaphor for the nation itself, bound to a leader whose actions undermined the partnership. Whether or not the rumors of affairs were substantiated, they carried symbolic weight, painting a portrait of distrust and isolation. Klepper used this imagery to illustrate how Trump's leadership left the country similarly bruised and uneasy, questioning its bonds and struggling with betrayal. Another dimension of Klepper's dismantling was its timing in the broader arc of American politics. Coming just months into Trump's second term, it foreshadowed the turbulence ahead. By placing such a sharp spotlight on the president so early, Klepper suggested that the challenges were not going to fade, they were going to multiply. His satire became an early marker of the battles that lay ahead, not only for politicians, but for the American public navigating another 4 years under Trump's rule. The implications of Klepper's performance extended beyond comedy. It highlighted the growing role of cultural figures in shaping political discourse. In a climate where traditional journalism struggled with audience fatigue, satirists like Klepper became essential interpreters of events. Their humor translated complex dynamics into accessible narratives, helping people process chaos without drowning in despair. Klepper's dismantling of Trump, therefore, was not just a late-night sketch, it was part of a larger movement of cultural resistance. The resonance of this takedown also reflected the hunger for accountability. With Congress divided and institutions hesitant, satire became one of the few remaining spaces where Trump's behavior could be challenged with immediacy and creativity. Klepper's performance gave voice to frustrations that many Americans felt but could not articulate. By laughing, the audience also released pent-up anger, transforming despair into solidarity. It was proof that even in times of political darkness, humor could offer both critique and community. Klepper's dismantling of Trump will likely be remembered as one of the defining moments of early resistance in his second term. It captured the essence of a presidency that seemed addicted to chaos and scandal, while also revealing the cracks in America's democratic foundations. It showed how satire, far from being trivial, could rise to meet the urgency of history. In mocking Trump, Klepper was also holding up a mirror to the nation, asking it to reckon with what it had allowed and what it was becoming. The spectacle of Trump's alleged affairs and the strain on his marriage to Melania added layers of intrigue to the unfolding drama. For Klepper, it was not about gossip, but about symbolism. The personal mirrored the political, And the betrayal of a partner reflected the betrayal of a public trust. By framing the scandal in this way, Klepper elevated it from rumor to commentary, making it part of a larger narrative about power, dishonesty, and responsibility. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Jordan Klepper exposing Trump's scandals after defeating Kamala Harris? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.